Welcome. These will be my thoughts on The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 4. Here's Not Here, Man. The episode is rated CVMA, so will this video be? There will be spoilers for the episode and everything live-action Walking Dead leading up to it. Another episode that I absolutely fucking loved. So, I have been a fan of John Carroll Lynch for... I guess it has been about 30 years now. Yeah. The moment I saw his name in the opening credits, and it's basically, just him and Morgan. Like there's almost no one else in the entire episode, and just, yeah. I guess it's also, what do they call those, chamber piece bottle episode kind of thing, and it just works so fucking well. Like, I love that this is a show that in one episode can have just this massive amount of walkers, and then an episode like this where it's basically two people talking, and for a while Morgan doesn't even say that much, and just, yeah, I got so emotionally invested in Eastman. So I want to make sure that I don't forget, so I'll do it now, but not live. Sorry, not sorry, Bill O'Reilly. But yeah, so since it is Women's History Month, I am trying to make sure that, the at least once per episode, per video, I need sleep, once per video recommendation is of a female YouTuber. And today I am recommending Auntie Elaine's Target picked random black people to end the boycott. Really, really solid video. And honestly, I really admire Auntie Elaine. She has expressed that Some More News is to the left of her, which also means I am to the left of her. But she has so much empathy that I think she did at one point say she is essentially sort of conservative, but like the arguments she makes are deeply empathetic. She is not okay with what Trump and his administration are doing right now, and yeah, like this is exactly the kind of thing that I always love to see from conservatives, because listen, we are all capable of empathy. There's like certain, I don't remember what it's called right now, but there is like neurological thing where some people don't feel empathy, but a huge number of people, overwhelming majority, are capable of empathy. It is just about whether or not we choose to exercise and how many people we're willing to extend it to. The episode itself does not really have female characters. I guess I could say, I appreciated that she thanked Morgan for sparing his life, but that's it. And I mean, Eastman's daughter sounds very sweet. This thing of, trying to help Daddy, giving the rabbit's foot. The rabbits who lose their feet are never lucky, so I don't quite know why it has properties of luck, but okay. Yeah, so gonna try to make the rest of the video scene by scene, more or less chronological order. I will admit, the opening had me thinking that was Eastman he was talking to, that at some point, because throughout the episode there is a lot of tension between them. But yeah, it was really great seeing, now we know where he learned Aikido. And made the huge change, because we already knew something had happened, because he was very, very different from the way he was when Rick last saw, and we last saw Morgan. Yeah, I think... Have I mentioned? I can't quite place it, but I think they changed something about the opening, the credits sequence, and yeah, continue to really love it. The choices there, how much it is just like empty, and just like objects, and some like we see the door, the walker's trying to push open that door that's been blocked, but yeah, I think that does bring us nicely. Yeah, and at the start of the episode, genuinely, Morgan is still in the same place. He kills anyone who comes near. And just, yeah, that was really, really unpleasant and scary. And that's one of the reasons I watch horror, so score. Bullseye. And I think that does... Yeah, and he writes some ominous up to interpretation sentences. Survivors sure do love to do that in the Walking Dead universe. And yeah, let's see. I think that is when we have the... Yeah, and he ends up going to he finds the cabin and he wants the goat. And just from right away, as soon as we hear his voice, just pitch perfect performance by John. With Eastman, like that's one of the things that John Carroll Lynch does really well, and that they used to such striking effect here, is that he can come across as friendly, even charismatic, but also have a sense of threat and danger to him. And some of his characters only have one of those things, but it is really, yeah, I guess this is a decent time to briefly note. So yeah, the other things I've watched that he's in are Fargo, Zodiac, The Drew Carey Show, and Face Off. And I love him in all of them. Every single time I see his face or hear his voice, it's like, yes, so great. So, yeah, I mean, the first time in the movie or Drew Carey Show episodes, or whatever he pops up in, it's just immediately it's like, yes, I get to watch him perform again. And yeah, the way that he is, like, because he could have attacked sooner, but he keeps giving Morganings, and only at the end does he attack, and he chooses to knock him unconscious and then take him into the cell when he could have killed him. And I would definitely say that Morgan is displaying... I mean, at one point he does just come out and say, ask to be killed, but throughout the episode, even when he isn't directly verbally asking for it, he is engaging behavior that is very self-destructive, and it does seem like he either wants to die or does not care if he does, which, yeah, I mean, Eastman points out it's PTSD. He keeps re-experiencing the trauma, and some people end up suicidal, which is why we have to make sure that they get the help they need. Sometimes it can seem like hope is far away, but under the right circumstances, you get in touch with the right people. Maybe you need to get into a better, life situation. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's worth it. And I think, and do not, you should not feel any shame over needing help from other people. That is community. It's, yeah, we are social animals. We need each other. And yeah, I thought it worked really well the way that, yeah, clearly Morgan is there for a while. And, you have the thing about that, you know, at first he doesn't say, but after a while Eastman tells us about Crichton, and even that he did in fact let him starve, and now he is not letting, he's even saying like, oh, you really should eat these cookies, they're really good. And the fact that it's made very clear by the episode, like, there isn't even really a distinction between what the two eat. Like, he makes Morgan the same food that he himself eats. He's not treating him like an animal, which many prisoners are. He's kind of just treating him like a wounded individual that needs support. And I think I love the part where he said, "You are a terrible conversationalist." And he talks about being lonely and how Morgan would be as well. And I think that does cover... Let's see, there's at least one more thing that I really wanted to make sure to say before moving on to the next part. Right, I also like he's so friendly when, he's like, "Please don't touch the goat. It doesn't belong to you. I still need it. I'm trying to make cheese." And also his like, "Oh, that's terrible," which, like, I have never tried to make cheese, but I do hear if you don't get it right, it can be quite dreadful. And yeah, he pretty much immediately gets him the book, and for a while Morgan won't even look at it. He just leaves it there, and the way that the camera accentuates, it's in the same spot. He hasn't even, like, he hasn't picked it up and then put it back down or anything. And eventually he does try to read and understands about Aikido. And the the thing about, like, the door's open. If you had tried it, you would have found out, which is also, I think, very telling, because we've seen that at least some of the time he's been alone. Like, it's one thing that he's like, if I try to open it while he's in the cabin, that's going to be it. And also, like, hypothetically, Eastman could probably have done something to make sure. I mean, I don't know, would he need very much rope to, like, tie one or maybe both hands of I'll deal with that later, of Morgan to one of the bars? Then it doesn't matter if it does not lock, but he really tries to make it as comfortable an experience as he can, considering that Morgan did try to kill him. I mean, it's one thing that he, didn't leave immediately, but he also fired the gun towards, Eastman. But yeah, the fact that he didn't even try the door at any point does also suggest, he is trying to, yeah, he doesn't really want to get out of this situation. He just can't seem to help, if he has a chance to try to kill someone before he grows over the course of this episode, he's going to do it, which, yeah. I think that does pretty much... Yeah, the whole thing with the training was really great. And how I also really appreciated, like, there are several conflicts between them, including a few where it is, physical, violent. And each time it means something different. Like, there, at first, like, I was just thinking, I really hope Morgan doesn't kill this person, because, like, we haven't seen him or heard of him before, so like something happened, and it was great that the episode ends with him getting to the terminus sign, which we've already seen before. Him arriving there, I mean, so we know the rest. But yeah, a decent amount of the time, Eastman is in sufficient control of the situation, But yeah, it was incredibly intense when, yeah, he tells him, you can stay or you can go, but I will not allow you to kill me. And Morgan still tries, and the look on Eastman's face when the little picture is broken, and just, yeah. And he comes close, he was about to kill again. But yeah, the entire monologue, I really admire how this show can just have, like, it's one person talking to another person, but it's riveting, and I feel like I can practically smell the you know the area he describes talking to Crichton. Also really appreciated, he says fairly early, he describes his job and says, what was it, like 530 people, or I forget the exact number. Only one of them was evil, and then later we find out the one that was evil killed Eastman's family, and then he killed him. But yeah, the thing with, I knew, and he knew I knew, and I knew he knew I knew, Nanu, and he tried to kill me, and then he killed my family, and just like, yeah. I will say it's not really a criticism, but I was a tiny bit surprised. So Eastman describes that Crichton, was allowed to like grow plants and shit. Well, not shit that doesn't really grow, but at no point did it turn out that what he was making with it was napalm and mustard gas. Props if you know that reference. But I think, let's see. Yeah, I also, Morgan doesn't ask that many questions in this episode, but one he does ask is why the cell is there, And yeah, the thing about, like, well, they didn't know where to look, so they didn't find me, and then by the time he was dead, there was no one for me to turn into. And he realized that he didn't feel any sense of relief from killing only when he made the decision to never kill again. And that is something that is actually true. I'm not speaking from personal experience, but studies show that it is very unlikely that you will actually feel better. It's the lizard brain getting confused, basically. It's confusing emotional pain with physical threat. Because obviously, yeah, if you are being attacked by an animal and you have no option but to kill it, you will feel some relief after you've killed it because it will no longer pose a threat, but emotional stuff like that, just, yeah. Anyway, I feel like there's at least one more thing that I really wanted to say. Yeah, also the part where Morgan really hesitates at the walker was also felt like, I mean, part of it is that he is remembering killing humans, but yeah, it felt somewhat self-destructive. And then the fact that Eastman, self-sacrifice. And I think that does pretty much bring us to the, yeah, and we find out, right, I like the thing about, like, you sabotaged my tomato plant, but you saved Tabitha. And then later, one of the walkers did get Tabitha. It discovered that the door was open without having to be told. because it wanted out, and maybe Morgan didn't. And also the fact that it took 47 days for Crichton to starve to death. Jesus Christ. Is that a fucking Lost reference? I'm just kidding. Oh wait, was that Alias? Shit. I don't remember. Whatever. One of JJ's shows. And the but no, seriously though, that is horrific. Like yeah. No wonder he decided to refuse to kill. And I think that does pretty much get us to, let's see, the yeah, that so yeah, he's like that he says he's ready to die. Also, Morgan making sure he takes a rest. He'll do the digging himself, and yeah, he goes, and we don't have to see it because like it would feel kind of bad taste. We do see that yes, he didn't die, and he got a grave with a name on it and everything. And I suppose that does bring us to, yeah, and so there at the end we find out, the person that he's been telling this whole thing to, which I will also say that was my second guess, but yeah, the wolf that he fought in the other episode. And yeah, the guy says that he might turn soon, and if and as part of his world, he will try to kill them, including the children, just like your friend Eastman's. And Morgan still refuses to kill him. I think there might be words once, yeah. And, certainly Carol will prefer to have him killed. And yeah, the tease at the very end, shouting, "Open the gate." Really, really excited. It should be very soon that I do the next episode. I have decided not to put an exact day on it because sometimes I accidentally fuck up and miss the date. And then I'll have to wait. Anyway, yeah, just fantastic episode. Really powerhouse performance duet. And I guess that does pretty much cover everything. Right, about the cheese, I do also hear that it is difficult. It takes practice and, exact direction and such. Be a mentor to get it right. I think that is everything for this one. So yeah, I appreciated when Eastman pointed out that that's a very silly name and maybe Morgan should change it because it could be kind of dangerous to go around introducing yourself like that, So, we do learn over the course of this episode he did have kids, and evidently some things never completely go away because that was very much a dad joke. Like, basically, it's like, so what's your name? Kill me. Hi, kill me. I'm Dad.